Welcome to How We Grow, an essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz, with your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. I'm Lynell Gordon, your host. In today's episode, we're excited to welcome Kory Rankine. He is the founder of Escape Luxury Hospitality. He has over a decade of experience in the hospitality industry. And Kory has built one of the leading luxury rental businesses in Miami-Dade County. They are known for having unparalleled luxury experiences, and they cater to a diverse range of guests, like from families to corporate clients seeking extraordinary stays. And Kory has a really diverse background. It spans across event planning, corporate accounting, and country club management. It uniquely positions him to bring a really well-rounded approach to luxury hospitality. And today he's going to share his insights with us on how he stays ahead of his competition, along with whatever else he wants to talk about. Welcome, Kory. Thank you so much.
Hi, Lynell. Thank you so much for having me today. Really appreciate it.
So something really cool that's going on with you right now is that you're in the slow season, and here on the East Coast, we're starting our season. We're just like in ramp up mode. So tell me a little bit about how you stay ahead of your competition and what off season looks like to you.
Well, yeah, thank you. So staying ahead of the competition, I guess it comes down to doing all the work that no one really wants to do. Doing the research and all like the grunt work stuff, right?
Tell me about the research. What do you mean by that?
Just basically seeing what's going on with the industry, right? Seeing what trends are happening, seeing what's changing, seeing what technology is coming into the industry, and basically just having a good understanding of the business itself. I feel like a lot of times with running a business on trying to stay ahead of the curve or staying ahead of the competition is just basically getting all the information and knowledge that you can. And with doing that, you have to do all the legwork, going online and research and listening to podcasts, seeing what trends are happening, seeing what's new. And then another thing too, what we do as far as staying ahead of the competition is we're actually doing like real work. We're taking it back to the good old days. One of the things that I've implemented within our business is going on and getting on the phones, right? And trying to build your partnership, your B2Bs. Trying to go out there and trying to get new clientele. And I feel like a lot of the times, especially in this new modern age, that we became a little bit lazy and expecting business to come our way and not really going out there to go seek new business.
So you're saying using technology that automates systems and not really keeping boots on the ground, calling and talking to people in person. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Exactly. Because technology is a good thing by all means. And I feel that we get a little complacent when we have all this new tech out there. And we think that, hey, we don't need to do any of that legwork anymore. Everything will just come our way. And I'll give you a good example. Last year, I implemented a routine for myself. And one of these routines was basically every single day, I go online and I add 10 new realtors to my database, 10 new property managers to my database, 10 new travel agencies to my database. And I did that every single day last year. So now when I'm building on my database and I'm building up a network of new partners and I'm getting on the phone and I'm calling these individuals. Hey, how's it going? My name is Kory Rankine. I have a company, Escape Luxury Hospitality. If you ever have guests that are traveling down to Miami, feel free to reach out to us. And if we have guests that are traveling to your area, we'll be sure to send you the business. And last week, I got a phone call out of the blue, completely random, from a company that I reached out to last September. And they're like, hey, Kory, this is such and such. Do you remember me? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, are you still in the business? And I'm like, of course. Like, why would I ever stop? And he's like, yeah, I know that we talked briefly last year and we have a client that's looking to travel down to Miami. And do you have any properties? And I realized in life, some of the seeds that you plant, you won't see the benefits or the fruits of the seeds that you plant right then and there, but over time you will. So staying ahead of the competition requires you to do that legwork, to do all the manual hard labor work that nobody really wants to do. And I feel that we get complacent because we just look to tech to just do everything and automate everything, especially now AI. A lot of these companies are trying to push AI onto everybody and you're removing the human factor. And by doing that, it's like I'm leaving the success of my company to AI. No, I need to get my hands dirty, do the hard work. That's how you stay ahead of the competition.
I love that. It's really interesting because I think it plays across industries. For instance, even in real life, like my son just graduated, he got a certificate to do x ray technology and he's looking for jobs. And so the suggestion is, sweetheart, go to Office Depot, get 100 green manila envelopes that kind of stand out in color, put your resume in and go to everyone in the whole area here that does x-rays and just hand them out. So, I mean, he's literally doing that. In addition, he has career services at his college that does all this too. But I mean, there is no substitute for hands-on, boots on the ground, looking for people and looking for guests to serve our businesses. So I agree 100%. It just goes to show that those things that we learned when we first got in the business, we shouldn't throw them aside because we have technology that does it. We definitely should follow up and see what we can do better on it, even if it's marketing and that type of thing. So tell me other things that you've implemented in the last year that you've seen success from.
Yeah. So another thing too is building out systems. We're in a day and age where automation is the cornerstone of every business right now. And you want to automate as much as possible. And the reason being is because a lot of things do fall between the cracks. And if you don't have automations built out within your business model, it's definitely going to hurt you. It's going to cost you to fall behind on a lot of things. And it's not going to help you grow the business the way that you want to. So one of the things that I focused on in the past year or so was building out systems and then creating automations to have the business run on its own to where I could focus a lot of my attention on things that could help grow the business. One of the things that I've focused on implementing in regards to automations is building out a robust CRM system. And when you have a robust CRM system, it's a way for you to always stay engaged with your clientele, but it also helps with your marketing to make sure that you have that consistency. Consistency is very important, especially in this industry, is because it comes down to like a snowball effect. It starts out small, but the more consistent you are and the more that you keep pushing at it, things will eventually grow. Like you said, with me trying to fix this background, you said you love how I was so consistent on trying to make it work. That's built in my DNA, trying to be consistent and trying to utilize different softwares and tools to help with my automation for business and being consistent.
Well, I think that persistence is incredibly important in business. It doesn't matter what business you're in, and especially as an entrepreneur, we just don't give up. We keep going and keep going. Let me ask you this. So, you guys are really well known in the Miami luxury vacation rental market. So, what strategies have you implemented that would help you adapt your business? Because it is really quickly evolving. Like you're talking about AI. AI is like what AI was last year is not what AI is today. It's like crazy how quickly these different technologies are evolving. So tell me how you've adapted what you're doing to your business as far as AI.
Yeah, we are definitely utilizing AI as much as possible. We're not trying to push it so much to where it becomes the full identity of the business, right? And I feel like you have these companies out here that are trying to push AI to where they remove the human factor. And I'm kind of on both sides of the fence when it comes to AI. I believe that in the luxury space, you need that human factor. And you need that human factor because you want to make everything personable. But at the same time, AI can definitely help you in regards to building out your systems, strategizing. And then also, too, there's going to be moments and times where a human is not available and you need to be able to respond to things. Some of these companies are utilizing AI to deflect the need of the human factor, right? To where if it's something that is not as complex, then you could just implement the AI tools to respond to guests or utilize the AI tools to communicate or engage or so on and so forth, right? And then when it gets to a point where an actual human is needed, and that's when the human will come in. So AI can definitely help you in regards to running a lean business and making sure that it could help excel you to where you do not have the full capacity of having the manpower on your team, right? If you have a small team, but you have a lot of demand and you have a lot of clientele, and you have individuals that can't answer every phone call, you have individuals that can't respond to every text message, then I feel like that's where AI could come in handy. But trying to shift your business completely towards AI, then it's not luxury. Luxury requires human people. It requires the human factor. It requires somebody that's going to give you that personal touch and have that emotion and everything. So I would like to say that you could have that good balance between having AI, but still have that human factor within your business.
Let me ask you this, because you deal with very high end clientele. How do you compete, especially in Miami-Dade, with the high end luxury hotels? How do you compete with them and get clientele?
To be honest with you, it comes down to who you're trying to reach and letting them know or understand the value that they're getting. So the way that you compete with the hotels, you simply let them know, like, hey, listen, you're getting more value with your money staying at one of these luxury properties as opposed to staying at a hotel. Right. So if we're identifying a client, which is a high net worth individual, some of the things that they're looking for, they won't be able to get at a hotel. Privacy. They're definitely not getting that at a hotel because a hotel has over 1,000 people that are staying at the property at the same time you are. Dedicated service. If you need something immediately, that hotel has to go through a number of different clients that staying at the hotel before they could get to you. And then the overall experience is staying at a house in comparison to staying at a hotel. You don't want to be in a pool where there's 500 other individuals in that pool. You don't want to be in the restaurants when there's 1,000 other people at the restaurant. You want that privacy, that luxury. So the way that we compete with the hotels is that we just have to focus on that luxury factor, the privacy and add in value where hotels simply cannot give you that value. And then from a cost perspective, it's more advantageous to stay at a private property as opposed to stay at a hotel. If you compare it to square foot wise, I can get you a 3,000 square foot property that's going to cost you $3,000 or $4,000 a night. And then say you go to a luxury 5-star hotel, they're going to charge you $2,000 a night for a 700 square foot room. So, I mean, it's very easy to make a decision there, right? Do I pay $2,000 for a 700 square foot room? Or do I pay an additional $1,000 or $2,000 more and I get a luxury home on the water? And guess what? Most of the hotels see that the vacation rental industry or market is taking away a lot of market share from them. And that's why a lot of the hotels are starting to tap into the vacation rental industry itself because they know it's very hard to compete with us. They know that what value that we bring and offer, they can't do it by offering a hotel room.
What's your favorite part of what you do?
My favorite part, oh man, it's a lot of it. I love curating guest experiences. I feel that when you're able to create a vacation for somebody and you're able to create an experience for them that is just going to stick with them forever, I feel like that is the reason why I got into this business, creating memorable moments that last forever.
Tell me about some of those. What are some of your experiences that you've seen, that some of your favorites that you've been able to curate?
One experience I was able to create, this was a couple of years ago, and it was an NFL client that stayed at one of our properties. And this client was getting married. So he wanted to put together a weekend for a bachelor weekend. But the twist to it was that he was doing his bachelor weekend with his wife. So it was a bachelor and bachelorette weekend. So it's like, how do you prepare for that? How do you create a weekend to where you're able to satisfy the guys and satisfy the woman and combine these two different type of experiences into one? And it was very challenging because it's like, how do we create activities or how do we create an itinerary for the guys that the ladies will like to join in on? And we have a guest service team, and our guest service team is like one of the best in Miami. Their connections run deep. They have connections, whether it's private chefs, masseuse, yacht charters, dinner reservations, lounges, you name it. And they were able to put together an itinerary that not only fit for the bachelors, but it was able to fit for the bachelorettes. And this vacation, at first, I was like, this is not going to go good because when you're getting married, you don't want to be with your wife and vice versa. The wife doesn't want to be with the husband. This is your last hurrah. And you want to be able to have an experience to where you don't feel like you have to step on eggshells. But we were able to create this experience to where they were able to do all these activities together, whether it's like a scavenger hunt, whether it was a yacht charter, whether it was a private chef to come in and cook dinner or brunch. It was a lot of different things, paint and twist at the home. And they had the time of their life. And they became a consistent client with us and booked year over year.
I love that. Consistent clients is that I never thought about that in the luxury rental market, but creating return clients, that's huge.
Yeah, it is. It is. I feel like the way to do that is you don't look at them as clients. You try to build a relationship with them. Of course, at the beginning, they're going to start out as a client, but you want to turn them from a client to a friend and then from a friend to a family member. And I feel like if you take those steps to be able to do that, they're with you for life.
Wow. Now, in the high-end luxury market, that's quite a feat. I would go to Miami once a year. I have no trouble going to Miami once a year. I actually love it. I like it off season just as much as I do in season. Tell me this, for people who are looking to build a luxury high-end clientele for high net worth individuals, what is the best advice that you can give to them for building that?
I believe a lot of companies, they try to identify luxury as a certain price point, right? And trying to get high net worth individuals. If I say my property is $20,000 a night, I'm in the luxury market. That's not necessarily true. You could have an $800 home and it could be in the luxury market. And to do that, you have to focus on brand, and then you have to be able to focus on the quality of the homes that you have and the services that you provide. Luxury is not just a name, it's a culture. It's your identity. It's who you are. It's your habits. It's how you operate, from how you engage with your clients, how you serve them, tend to all their needs, and how you make them feel comfortable. So luxury is more of an experience as opposed to just a title. And I feel like a lot of people forget that. That's why with our company, with rebranding, we don't like to use Escape Luxury Hospitality. We just want to use Escape. If you're a luxury company, you don't have to say that you're luxury. They just know it. And that comes with all the things that you're doing behind the scenes, from how you're operating, how you train your team to make sure that they're the best at what they do, from guest services, from the real estate team picking out the right properties to make sure that they meet a certain standard, how the sales team engages with the client before they book. It's everything that you do behind the scenes that could give you the luxury identity. And trying to go after those clientele, it's just like you have to meet them where they're at. I feel that the high net worth individuals, it's not more so about a price point to them because this is their lifestyle. This is how they travel. This is how they live. You don't really have to force them to book a luxury home because this is their standard. So in finding those clientele, it's one, focusing on you, make sure that the brand is good, make sure that you have all the good services, make sure that the homes that you have are quality, and then reaching out to the different networks like B2Bs. Instead of me putting $1 million into marketing and everything like that, why don't I just reach out to concierge companies and travel companies that have these clients and say, hey, listen, we're a trusted partner that you can rely on every step of the way. So whenever you have clients, reach out to us, making sure that we're just meeting these people where they're at and not trying to just pull them to our business, just meeting them where they're at and then just showing up and just making sure that you're consistent every step of the way.
Built by property managers for property managers, Streamline is a powerful software that gives managers enterprise-level capabilities to drive more revenue and improve operational efficiency. Migrating to Streamline allows property managers to gain functionality while reducing the need for multiple vendors, improving flow by logging into a single system and reducing redundant technology costs. With Streamline, property managers achieve revenue lifts by leveraging our fully fledged communication center, reservations quoting system, revenue management tools, homeowner acquisition CRM, and powerful direct OTA connections. Streamline also has industry-leading trust accounting and report capabilities to give you clarity in an overall company performance. Learn more about Streamline Vacation Rental Software at streamlinevrs.com.
So I have this idea in my head because I follow this travel agent for high net worth individuals, and she shares her phone calls. She's a big thing on social media, but she gets calls like the lady got to the room and she's by herself. She's getting over a breakup or whatever, and she's ready to move on. And it's a high worth individual, and she has 2 robes on her bed, and she's calling to complain that there were 2 individually embroidered robes on her bed rather than 1. You knew it was a single weekend. It was just me. So why do you have 2 robes there? Do you have people literally that do that type of complaining that is like, normally we would consider that like inane or just ridiculous, but do you have that type of thing that happens with your high luxury individuals?
I mean, we live in a world where everyone complains about everything, right? And I don't mind it at all. Listen, here's the thing, and this is what I tell my team. You never know what somebody's going through in life. And they could come on a weekend and they could complain about everything. They could be rude, they could be disrespectful, and it doesn't really have anything to do with you per se. They're just going through a rough time in life. They could have got fired from the job. They could have had a bad breakup. And this getaway is everything for them. And yes, we do have scenarios where clients could be very disgruntled and they could complain about every little thing, but it's our job to allow them to escape from whatever reality that they're going through at that point in time. So I tell my team, I'm like, listen, whenever you have guests that are complaining, if they're being difficult, it's your job to change that feeling for them. And by providing the utmost exceptional hospitality services that you can and getting them to forget about whatever troubles that they're having. Like we've been there. I've been there. You've been there. We've been in situations where we just had a horrible day or stress and we're just going through life's issues and problems. And sometimes we may not realize that we're just being negative and we lash out on certain individuals and people. And we have to understand that's life, right? So with our guests, if they're having a bad time, if they're complaining, put on a smile and just try to challenge yourself to say, you know what? My goal this week is to make this person happy. It's to make them laugh. It's to make them forget about whatever problem or issue that they're having and turn their negative into a positive. So that's a focus. And then another thing too, what I do with my team, I tell them when they travel and they go to hotels and constant training, right? I tell my guest service team, whenever you travel, go to a hotel and be disgruntled and see how they respond to you and take notes. Go to a hotel and don't even talk to anybody and see how they are as far as keeping in communication with you and engaging with you. And take all these different experiences when you're going and traveling and try to apply that to what you're doing to either improve or just to see what your competition or what other companies are doing to help you out so you could be better at what you're doing.
So spoken like a true hospitality professional, you're loving on them and trying to help them feel better if they're complaining. That's a really great way to turn the way that you look at it around. And I think that the fact that you're looking at luxury as an experience and not as, are the sheets a certain count? Is the house this particular standard? You're actually creating the experience to be a luxury experience for them for whatever it means to them. And that's really interesting.
It's the bare minimum. It's the standard, right? The sheet count, the amenities, the aesthetic of the property, everything is just the standard. It's your base, right? But you could have the best quality of everything at a property and not have luxury. And I see it all the time. So the experience is what defines if your company is luxury or not. You could have the best product. I could have the best car. I could have a Rolls Royce. But if I go to the Rolls Royce dealership and they treat me like junk, I'm going to Bentley now. They had a great car, but horrible service. This is not luxury. The experience is by all means the number one factor in determining whether a company is luxury or not.
That's awesome. I love that. Let me ask you this. What trends do you see coming down the road that you want to implement in your business?
Right now, everything is just super AI based. And I feel that is like the next biggest trend that we're seeing across the board. And yes, I would love to implement AI. I get calls all the time from these different companies. that want me to partner with them or they want me to utilize their services. But here's my reservations with it. I don't want the AI to replace the human touch. Now, if we could figure out a way to use AI where we still have that human touch to where it's not removed completely, that would be amazing. So AI is like the number one trend, and just trying to figure out how to have that balance is very key and ideal.
I love it for content creation and I love it for marketing. I think that it's excellent to use it there. I mean, just like today, David Angelotti just did a presentation on this at the VRMA Executive Summit. And it was really cool the way that he was using AI. And he brought it to a real personal level for each of us. Here's what you can do. Here's how you can do it. And here's what it works with really well right now. So I think that being able to do our descriptions, our content, our communications, make it better, I think it's great for that.
It definitely is. And then another trend that's starting to break away in the industry is dynamic pricing and revenue management. So dynamic pricing has been something that has been going on for the past couple of years now to help companies increase their revenue. And then the revenue management aspect is fairly new. And this trend, if done correctly, can definitely rocket fuel your company if done right. So I've been interviewing a ton of different revenue management companies to help with our dynamic pricing. And one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of revenue management companies is that their approach to it is not as in depth as it should be. And they're just doing the quick and easy way of, hey, we have dynamic pricing. Let's adjust our rates a certain way and let the algorithm run. And they're basing everything off of the data and the information that is allotted to them, to the public.
There you go. That's allotted to them. That's the key right there, is what their data is to be able to do that. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you don't really have revenue management companies that are taking a deep dive.
I want you to talk to Maureen Schilling at RevMax. Have you met her?
No, I haven't met her.
Okay, so Maureen Schilling. Now, I've met a bunch too. So I would tell you that Maureen Schilling, I would put her up against anyone in revenue management. That's all she's done her whole career. And she started out in hotels, which is where this started out to start with. And my family's property management company, they meet once a week with people at RevMax. I think my sister meets with Desiree Garcia, as opposed to Maureen. But they're both geniuses at this. So when you find a genius in revenue management that will do a deep dive, and they actually will consider not just the data they're looking at, but they're also looking at what's happening in your area as a whole and what's happening with your business compared to your other businesses in the area. I mean, they do a really good job. So just saying, I'm going to have her reach out to you, Kory.
I agree. And the thing is with revenue management and dynamic pricing, there's so many nuances, right, that we have to take in consideration. So if you ask any regular revenue management company, what they're going to tell you is like, oh, we're scraping the data from Airbnb and VRBO. We are adjusting for seasonality and we're looking at demand, and that's it, right? But there's so many other factors that we have to take in consideration. What's going on in the economy? We have to look at that. We have to look at what the interest rates are. Even right now with tariffs, a lot of people are not spending like how they used to spend. We have to see what's going on with foreign policy and if people can travel the way that they used to freely. We have to factor in homeowner expenses and costs. For instance, one revenue management company that I work with, they were just giving me the bare minimum. They were using a dynamic pricing tool and they would check it and then they would just look at whatever the algorithm was pushing out. So if, say, your rates were $5,000 a night, it would say, oh, this is a poor rating. And you're like, $5,000 a night is cheap for this house. So I had to ask them, I said, listen, what are the comparisons? And based off of that, let me know everything that they are so far behind when it comes to revenue management.
You're talking about comparisons. You're saying, what are you comparing this property to? Which properties are you comparing my property to?
Exactly. So I'll give you an example. So I asked the revenue management company and I said, hey, listen, you're utilizing the dynamic pricing, whatever tool that you utilize. And right now, check this property. And I gave them one of my properties. And I need you to run it through the system They ran it through the system. They said, oh, your price is extremely too high. So I said, okay, show me the property that you're comparing it to. And what it does, it says, let's take this 8-bedroom property and compare it to whatever other 8-bedroom property. And that's that.
Right. Right. It's not taking into account all the amenities, the location. I agree 100%. Well, the problem here is that we talk about AI today as the trending. Let's go back 4 years, 5 years. Revenue management was the new trend. And so what happened is you get a lot of people in the market and they actually don't understand the comparison between properties and how one property compares to the other. And that's the base of your algorithm. So when you said earlier, it's your data, it really is. Let's talk about people who are scraping data. When you scrape data off of VRBO and don't do a direct API or off of Airbnb, here's your issue. You're tracking this $5,000 a night home, and all of a sudden it disappears off and it's not available anymore, right? How do you know that wasn't an owner booking? How do you know that wasn't a maintenance block? How do you know that it actually rented for that amount? Because you've scraped that data. All you basically have is it was available and it's not. So that's a real issue with revenue management and with pricing tools. And you're right. They are not created equal. And guys, if you're looking for one, you need to look for one where, like Kory says, they do a deep dive. You need a revenue manager. You actually do, but you need someone that does nothing but revenue management. You need something that does nothing but looks at your pricing and does all the specific things that you have to do. It compares your houses, has the right comps for the houses, and it looks at trending. And you need someone that does that on a weekly basis to look at your pricing. So what they've done at our company, my family's company, is they've taken, like she was doing marketing and revenue management. And my sister is the CEO. She came to me and I was like, okay, so tell me what's your top problems you're having right now? Tell me your top issues. And one was, I need someone who is totally focused on revenue management for the pricing. So she had to decide whether to hire someone or whether to use Laura and continue to do that. And it was totally based on internally what was happening in her company. And I think it's really illuminating that she recognized the fact that she needed more focus, even though she had weekly meetings and there were weekly, more focus in that one area. Because you're right, it can make or break and it can rocket a company.
Exactly. You're absolutely right on what you said. You need somebody that this is what they do. They don't do anything else but revenue management. But this is their bread and butter. This is what they know inside and out. And the other thing too is that if this is what they focus on, they're constantly trying to learn and they're constantly trying to challenge themselves, right? So if you have an individual that is a jack of all trades, right? They're doing revenue management, they're doing marketing, they don't really have the time to like really do the research and seeing what's going on and seeing how to like analyze certain things and understand it, right? So like even when I talk to Sarah, revenue management is what she does, but even the people that she brings onto her team, they specialize in certain areas within revenue management. Like she has a data scientist, right? And that data scientist, that individual's job is to go out there and see all the detail analytics and trends of what's not only going on within the industry, but it's what's going on in the world economy. Seeing what's going on with seasonality, seeing what's going on with the algorithms and how they're working. They're just basically dissecting every bit and piece within the revenue management department. So therefore, they could be able to give solid results for the company. Because if I hire you and I'm spending X amount of dollars per month and you're not able to help increase my revenue of what I'm currently doing, why do I have you as a revenue manager?
That's right. I really hope that property managers out there listen to what you just said because it's so true. If you've hired a revenue manager and it hasn't increased your revenue, you got a problem. If it doesn't pay for itself and give you revenue on top of that, then why are you using it? Honestly.
I was interviewing a person and I asked them, what metrics or what are you using to come up with the pricing? And his response was data. I'm like, okay, what else are you doing? It's like, all you need is data. And I'm like, okay, what data are you utilizing then? Where are you getting this data? I'm utilizing the dynamic pricing tool. That's where I'm getting my data. And right then and there, I just like, okay, this is not going to be a good fit for me. I need somebody that wants to go outside of the box and look at all different factors. And even another thing too, and this could be a theory or whatever, but even like checking IP addresses and trying to fit that into the algorithm. So I could be wrong about this or I could be right. But I think with airlines, sometimes where you're looking for a price for a flight, you see a certain price, and then you could have another individual that's looking for that same flight. The price is a lot lower. And it's like, why is that? This is where data scientists come involved. And this is where your tech team comes in. And maybe sometimes pull in certain IP addresses, right? It's just like the algorithm. If I go on Google and I type in something, I'm going to see something completely different from what you see if you type in the same exact thing. So if we take it a step further and utilizing technology to where it's like, okay, let's make sure that we're putting certain price points to certain eyes that are searching the internet. If we're going to advertise a $10,000 home to a person that their household income is $40,000 a year, they're not going to book. So let's figure out how we could basically connect marketing and revenue management, but at the same time, implement technology to where the pricing is going to certain demographics to where it fits their budget, it fits their lifestyle, it resonates with who they are. And that's just me just throwing something out there or whatever.
That's putting AI in revenue management, which is really important. I think that's an important thing because even today, like I have a tool that I use in our nonprofit that based on your IP address, based on your location, it will offer you different options as far as how much to give. So it does that. It does that. And that's automated. It is AI and I use it. I actually turned it on and I was like, is this really going to work? And I think it works really well. So I think that's a real thing in revenue management. I think based on IP and who's looking, think about this. If you go look for a price for a flight, like I do a lot of travel. So I know that I have to clear my cache. When I go back in, I can get a different price based on whether I'm looking through Google for it or if I'm looking through American Airlines, which I like to travel American. And so if I go to American and I do my price search, it will offer me a higher price than if I go to Google and Google all the airlines and find the American price for that particular time and that particular thing. It'll offer me a totally different price. So a lot of times I fool it and I'll clear my cache or I'll go back a different way and I'll make the booking and it'll be a couple $100 less. So yeah, I think that's real. Let's end with this. Tell me a story about one of your favorite clients.
All my clients are my favorite clients. I think my favorite story would have to be with my grandmother coming down and seeing one of my first properties that I purchased.
Aw.
So my grandmother is my biggest inspiration and I'm always going to be her favorite grandson, her baby. And when I started my company with my grandmother, she was always, to her, it's like, you know what, as long as you're doing something and as long as you believe in what you're doing, just go for it. My grandmother, she's been doing real estate her entire life. She came from Jamaica with nothing. And she was able to just build a life not only for herself, but for her family. And one of my biggest motivators in life is just to show my grandmother that like I'm doing something good. And this was 2023 and it was her birthday, March 16th. And for the longest, I've always wanted to take her on a vacation somewhere, whether it was Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, somewhere where she could have a great experience and stuff, right? And every year I was always trying to plan a family vacation for my grandmother's birthday. And when we get closer to the date, everyone just drops out. My aunts, cousins, brothers, sisters, everybody just drops out. And I'm never able to take her on a vacation. And 2023, I was like, I own a house in Miami. She lives in Georgia. Okay, we can't go to the Bahamas or can't go to Turks and Caicos, but save myself the money and just have her stay at my house that I purchased. And I flew her down with my aunt. And then my other aunt came down with her husband. And the first night had a private chef. And she's Jamaican. So we had the private chef cook a lot of Jamaican Caribbean food. Then the second day, I had a nail tech come in and do her nails and just did the whole pampering, nails, hair done, everything. The third day, I took her on a yacht ride. This is her first time ever going on a yacht. And we went around the entire intercoastal. We were on this boat ride for like 5 hours and she had the time of her life. And what made this trip so amazing, it wasn't the fact that we had all these different experiences from a private chef from the nail tech, the hairstylist, from going out to dinners, the yacht. At the end, she was like, I'm proud of you. And it meant a lot because as a kid, you're always trying to show your parents or your grandparents, like, hey, look at me, I'm doing something, or pay attention to me, or this is real. And for me to be able to not only give her a good birthday experience, but for her to say out of her mouth, hey, I'm proud of you. This is a real thing. Because in the beginning, it's like, it's your kid. You have a business. Okay, whatever. Yeah, right. Yeah. Just stay out of trouble. And for her to actually come to Miami and physically see it with her own eyes, and my aunts see it, and they're like, wow, like this is not something he's just talking about, because the aspirations of entrepreneurs were always in idea mode, and we're going to do this, or I have this going on, or I'm going to be big, or I'm going to be great. For them to actually come down and see it. So I was like, I may have not been able to take her to Turks and Caicos. I mean, that trip is coming soon, but for her to come down, come to Miami, have the time of her life, stay at the property, and the same services that I'm giving to multi-billionaires and high net worth individuals, I was able to give her the same service and the same treatment as if she was a multi-billionaire.
I love that story.
And for her to come out of her mouth and say, proud of you, and this is a real thing, it meant a lot to me. So that's my greatest experience within this industry.
I love that. I love that she was your inspiration and that she's been doing real estate all these years. Kory, if people want to reach out to you to talk to you, how would they reach you?
They could reach me on LinkedIn, Kory Rankine, my full name. They could go to our website, escapelux.com. I love to brainstorm. I love to talk about everything hospitality, vacation rentals. I had somebody reach out to me to LinkedIn, and I told them, if this is a solicitation call, I don't want to do it. But if you want to talk hospitality and vacation rentals, I'm all ears. And she was like, I promise you, this is not a solicitation call. Let's just talk. We were on Zoom yesterday and we're just talking about the industry. Whoever wants to talk to me, whoever wants to reach out, pick my brain, and vice versa, so I could pick their brain, I'm happy to speak to whoever.
Well, thank you so much for being on the Vacation Rental Show. I'm really happy to have you. It's really great to talk to you. And I wish you the very best of luck in what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job. Just keep on keeping. And I know you will. You're like one of the most persistent people I've ever met. So good for you.
I appreciate you so much, Lynell, and thank you for having me on your show. This is amazing, and I love speaking with you every single time. So thank you so much.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
This episode of How We Grow is brought to you by Streamline. To find out more about how Streamline can help grow your vacation rental business, visit streamlinevrs.com. Make sure to search for How We Grow in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.